Okay. Thank you very much, Karina, and thank you to the Slovenian presidency, as I said, for this kind invitation for LERU to be part of this panel on the new era. You probably all know, as Karina already indicated, that the era is a topic which has been a top priority for LERU, I would say, over the past 2 decades, illustrated by many papers that we did on this issue. So we are very grateful, I would say, to the Slovenian presidency to bring a council recommendation on the RNI Pact and council conclusions on ERA governance to the 26/11 Competitiveness Council meeting. Now, the fact that ERA is of such an importance to us makes that we as LERU are always, on the one hand, very constructive, but on the other hand, also quite critical always vis-à-vis policy initiatives on ERA. And we like to stick with the original idea of ERA, which is embedded in Article 179 of the treaty, which is explicitly stating that the EU has to achieve a European research area in which researchers, scientific knowledge and technology circulate freely. And notwithstanding this explicit treaty assignment to the Union, we see that notwithstanding the efforts of several commissioners over the past decades, we see that there is still some reluctancy in several member states to make significant progress on ERA issues, progress which should be EU-led in many cases, in our opinion. So there is still some reluctancy there, even after 2 decades of policy, although we all see that the ERA is still not realized yet. For that reason, LERU is saying today, if we finally want to realize this fifth freedom, this free circulation of research, innovation and education, and if the European Union wants to play a role in this realization, then in our view, the European Union should act in the first place as an eliminator of member states or EU obstacles to the free circulation of research, innovation and education. And over the past years, several commissioners have made nice surveys of obstacles, national EU obstacles, which still are existing in the field of research, innovation and education, and which are blocking the realization of ERA. So this means, in our opinion, that the approach that has been taken for a very long time, namely a bottom-up voluntary approach and collaboration between the member states and the European Union, at least must be complemented by a top-down legislative compulsory approach on those issues where we see that national rules are blocking the realization of the ERA, are blocking the free circulation of research, innovation and education. And today, in fact, within LERU, we no longer speak about ERA as such, but we speak about the European knowledge area, because as already indicated this afternoon, a lot of arguments are as well relevant for the European research area, for the European education area, and for the upcoming European innovation area. Now, notwithstanding this clear view, I would say, we regret to see that the Commission is in fact shying away from this role as an eliminator of obstacles because of the reluctancy of a number of member states to let them do that specific work. And instead, we now get, again, several nice documents which are all putting forward vague, I would say, too vague, fluffy targets, actions, commitments, many of which are not solving, are not helping, I would say, universities in their daily battle with the uncompleted ERA as we know it today. If we talk about problems on free circulation of researchers, free circulation of students, joint degrees, joint programs, and things like that, we still see many problems. And in our view, with what is listed now in the 2020 ERA communication and in the draft ERA policy agenda 2022-2024, we think that this will be insufficient and will have too limited added value in order to make sure that the ERA is realized in the near future. Therefore, LERU has been, and I come to my final point, Karina, therefore LERU has been saying over the past few weeks that taking into account these developments, that universities must have a stronger voice in the ERA governance which is now set up. And that is certainly something that is absolutely crucial for us, the proposals on ERA governance are insufficient. And I just finish with that point. As Sergei has been knowing very well over the past few weeks, we have been asking the Slovenian presidency that, for example, for universities as a sector in the ERA forum, there would be 3 to 5 seats available in order to make sure that organizations like LERU or the EUA and others can deliberate and decide together with member states and the EU institutions on the ERA policy agenda and on the specific ERA actions. So at the end of the day, our request to the Council and to the Parliament and to the Commission is that universities must have seats and votes, because obviously we are not going to realize the ERA without recognition and clear involvement of the most important player in this debate, namely the universities. And therefore, I must say that with all my sympathy and respect for the efforts by the Slovenian presidency, the amendments that I now see passing by in the draft Council conclusions on ERA governance, in fact, they are blowing hot and cold at the same time, I would say. On the one hand, we see articles or paragraphs popping up where the EU and the member states want the stakeholder organizations to be involved, where it suits them, where it is useful for them. But on the other hand, then we also see paragraphs passing by where the stakeholder organizations are just referred to what I would call a Christmas tree consultation model, where then all the universities, 5,000 universities, 17 organizations and something like that, will have to come up with one joint position. So I hope that all involved will understand that one seat for the university sector in the ERA forum and 0 votes is not going to be sufficient in order to be supported by LERU. Concluding, LERU remains available, is happy to engage, as the Commissioner requested us earlier this afternoon, for a constructive dialogue and policy and decision-making process on ERA. However, I think that this has to be done in a serious, respectful, effective and efficient way. And I hope that the days and weeks which are still separating us from the Competitiveness Council from the 26th of November will lead to a number of modifications in order to make sure that this can take place. Thank you very much.